What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is Alatorre. Welcome to the family. Stick around. I hope you guys hit that subscribe button. I have noticed that you guys seem to enjoy my videos that are titled Pro Makeup Tips. And so I thought I would, continue doing them. So I'm gonna throw all of these videos into a playlist. I don't want to beat this topic to death, but there are certain things that come up that I'm like, that would make a great pro makeup tips video. So for today's video, I thought I would cover how to build foundation coverage. I'm sure a ton of you have purchased the foundation or looked at the description of a foundation and it says sheer to buildable coverage, and I'm all about a sheer finish. But buildable coverage, full coverage on areas that need it, and not doing full coverage across the entire face in order to keep things looking very natural and skin-like. So those are the techniques that I'm going to be covering in today's video with both a liquid and a stick foundation. I'm not going to go over concealer. That's going to be a different topic, another video for another day. I really just want to focus on building coverage with foundation. So if you're interested, keep on watching. Before we get started, I want to remind you guys that there are no rules when it comes to makeup. I like to consider them general guidelines because they sort of guide you in the right direction when doing your makeup. When you say there are certain rules to makeup, they're bound to be broken because if you're told to do makeup a certain way, but you do it differently and it works for you, then it works for you. So in today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you kind of like, not necessarily don'ts, just techniques that you might want to avoid if you want to build your foundation coverage from sheer to full coverage. So I'm gonna get right into it. We're gonna start first with a liquid foundation. So I'm gonna be using the Dior Forever foundation. It's been my current favorite. This is the new one that was recently released in the matte formula. I don't know what it is about this foundation. I can wear it all day long and it looks amazing, so I thought it would be great for today's demo. Plus, I feel like it is a buildable coverage. So the shade I'm using is 3WO, which is an olive undertone. One of the reasons why I do really love this foundation. And on one side, I'm going to show you guys a technique that wouldn't work if you want to go from sheer to full coverage. So I'm going to take my beauty blender, everyone's favorite beauty tool, and I'm going to apply the foundation, MEEKA's Fur, directly to the beauty blender. Again, not wrong, it's just gonna give you the fullest coverage right off the bat. So we're just gonna directly start applying this foundation to the skin. One thing you guys have probably noticed from my tutorials is that I very, very, very rarely apply a foundation directly to my face without warming it up first. One of the reasons I love doing that is because it allows me to start off very sheer, but it also melts the product down, breaks it down, gives it a more skin-like finish. Whereas going straight from the bottle to the face, I feel like the product doesn't get a chance to warm up, especially if you're using a tool like a sponge or a brush. You're just kind of like layering it on top of your skin, not really blending it in and melting it into the skin. It's still gonna give you a beautiful finish. I mean, this still looks really nice. I look very yellow. I look the color of my shirt. This foundation color, I promise you, it works on me after I've highlighted the skin. It just always translates very olivey and yellow on camera when I have an added highlighter or concealer. Now on the other side, I'm gonna show you guys the sheer to buildable coverage. So one thing I always do before applying foundation is really prep my skin well. I feel like skin prep is so important when it comes to achieving a really skin-like base and allowing you to go from sheer to full coverage. Today I used Charlotte Tilbury's Magic Cream as my base, loaded it up, which is why I have like this nice sheen to my skin. This looks crazy. If you've ever tried blending foundation on top of extremely dry, parched skin, you know it is no good. So to go from a light to a full coverage, I'm going to show you two, maybe three different techniques. The first is a brush. So a brush actually, if used in a buffing motion, is going to give you a sheer finish. If you use one pump of foundation and buff, you're going to get a really nice sheer finish. So I'm taking this Tarte foundation brush. I'm going to apply, oh actually sorry, I was going to go directly to the brush, but like I said, I always go on the back of my hand first. It just, for me, gives me the best application because I can take the brush and really work it in to those bristles versus having a glob on one spot of the brush. And then also this gives the foundation some time to warm up. So then I can just go in directly and start applying it. And you're gonna see, we're gonna get a really nice sheer finish. I think the goal with foundation should always first and foremost be to give you an even complexion. It shouldn't be to, I mean, I don't know, some people love full coverage. For me, it's really dependent on if the full coverage looks like skin. But I feel like the goal with your foundation should be to just even out your skin tone, because once you add concealer and you spot conceal, you're gonna get a really nice flawless finish. And already you can see a huge difference from this side to this side. Over here, you can still see some of my freckles, some of my blemishes. It doesn't look as yellow because this is obviously more opaque. It's been layered on pretty heavy. So this side to me, I mean, this still looks like skin. It's just that what happens when you go really full coverage right off the bat as well is that the foundation tends to crease because you have a thicker layer on the skin. You're gonna get a lot more creasing, like the laugh lines, maybe around the eyes or the nose. It'll tend to happen more when you've layered a ton of product on, which is why I like building my coverage from sheer to full. And then I always take my beauty blender and blend it out because it's gonna sheer it out a little more, and it's also going to blend out any brush streaks on the skin. From there, if I still have blemishes that are showing imperfections, I take the foundation, I really work it into the beauty blender, and I go over the areas that need a little more coverage. So for me, it's usually around here. I have a little bit of redness, some blemishes, and I just lightly stipple over any areas that I want a little more added coverage. I tend to avoid adding a lot of coverage right here because I end up doing that with my concealer. That way it keeps the coverage and the amount of foundation on the skin very, very minimal. And there you guys go. So here is, or this side, just a reminder, is full coverage, direct application of 3 to 4 pumps of foundation with a beauty blender to the skin. This side has been buffed out with a foundation brush, and then I went back in with a little more foundation and stippled over the areas that had redness or blemishes, and you can tell it just looks a lot more natural. Again, don't be thrown off by how yellow it might be looking on camera, because if I were to highlight, it would balance everything out. But it is the correct undertone, and I think, I don't know, maybe you guys can vote down below, but I really love the way this looks because I feel like it still looks a lot more natural and skin-like. So that's one way of building coverage. The other way I'm going to show you guys is by mixing a bunch of products together for a sheer finish. So I'm going to wipe this off and then we'll get into the next technique. I'm back. I left this crazy looking side up so that way we can compare and contrast full coverage, 4 pumps of foundation directly from Beauty Blender to face with the sheer to buildable coverage side. So for this technique, we're gonna add a primer or an illuminator to sheer out the foundation. I really like fluid illuminators like this one from Charlotte Tilbury. It's called Wonder Glow. You can mix it directly into your foundation and it adds an all-over glow. If you're oily, you might not like this technique, or using a glowy illuminator to sheer out your foundation. Another product that I really love are hydrating primers that are very, very fluid. My favorite one is Primerizer by Smashbox. Let me just grab it real quick. This is it right here. It's very, very lightweight. It's hydrating. It's a great mixer because of how fluid it is. Let me show you guys the texture. See that? Very, very fluid. Another similar product is the, whoa, what happened to this guy? The Marc Jacobs Coconut Primer, same thing, very fluid, great mixer. Also, the Too Faced Hangover RX Primer is another great one. Basically, hydrating primers are very, very fluid. Sometimes I'll do Primerizer plus Illuminator and this, but to keep it simple, I'm only gonna use Primerizer. Again, any primer with this consistency should work. So we're gonna do 2 pumps primer and only 1 to 2, just one pump foundation, like that. Then with a paddle brush, I'm gonna mix these two together like this, just going back and forth. And once I feel like they've been mixed together pretty well, I start to feather it on the skin just like this. And once I've covered all the skin with the paddle brush, I again take my beauty blender. Beauty blenders are just so key for me. I honestly don't think I can do my makeup without a beauty blender. It's such a staple tool for me, and I love the way it makes skin look. See how you can still see the little freckles? Again, it just looks a lot fresher on this side. And then again, to build the coverage, to cover up any redness or imperfections, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna take 1 pump of the foundation, really work it into the Beauty Blender, and then stipple it on to the areas where I have a little more redness and blemishes, which is usually around here. And there we go. Those are the 2 techniques that I would use for liquid foundation in order to get a sheer coverage, build it up to full coverage. Now we're gonna get into a stick foundation because I think stick foundations are great for building coverage to the point where you might not even need a concealer. So again, I'm gonna wipe this off and I will BRB. All right, moving on to stick foundation, and I'm dying to do this because I love when I see people on YouTube and Instagram do this technique. It doesn't work for me because again, I don't like the look and feel of a lot of product on the skin. For some reason, my skin can't handle a really heavy foundation or a lot of product, or very, very matte foundations either. Even though that Dior one is matte, it's like a natural matte. It just tends to translate like a lot on my skin. It really ages my skin. But when I see other people do it, it gives them the most flawless application. So I'm dying to do it. So I'm gonna take a foundation stick. This is the YSL one. Back when I was still testing it out. So I don't know what actually happened to my real version or the one that they sell in stores, but this one is my color, so we're gonna use it. It is shade BD40. And the technique I'm talking about is going directly from the stick to the face. So this time, since this side has more dramatic blemishes, we're gonna do full coverage on this side. So I'm gonna take the stick and just go and swipe it on the skin. You guys know what I'm talking about. You see everyone just kind of swipe it on and then get that nice full coverage finish. So just like that. And a kabuki brush. So I'm actually gonna just stipple this on. You're gonna see it's like the most full coverage, flawless finish. But I just don't feel comfortable wearing this around. It like, again, it'll crease, it'll eventually separate on me. It feels like a lot even though it looks absolutely flawless. For me, it's just a little too much, but if it works for you, hey, it works for you. And by the way, this brush is the number 7 Heavenly Luxe Complexion Perfection Brush by IT Cosmetics, my absolute favorite. Lightly tapping and pressing in the product is gonna give you more full coverage because you're keeping the foundation to that area. You're not moving it around and doing that buffing motion. So this is the full coverage side. It still looks like skin, super flawless. This matches like really, really good. So now I'm gonna show you on this side how I would actually build coverage with a stick foundation. So instead of going directly or applying the foundation directly to the skin, I'm gonna take that brush and I'm gonna lightly swipe the brush onto the stick like so. And I'm doing like a press and swipe motion just like this. And what I like about stick foundations for building coverage is that they are normally a fuller coverage because of the consistency. They're more creamy. They're gonna give you a fuller coverage. The more product you don't have to use as much product as a liquid. A liquid, you might have to do like 4 pumps to get that full coverage look. Whereas with a stick, because it's so concentrated, you get a little more with less product. So this is the finished sheer side. Again, you can still see my freckles, especially you can see the ones on my nose. And it's crazy because you can actually still sort of see the line from the full coverage and the sheer. It almost changes the color of the foundation because it's transparent on this side. But you can still see these blemishes just a bit. So we're gonna build on that coverage. And the great thing about this brush is that it does have the smaller kabuki. So I just pick up the foundation onto the little kabuki. And I need a mirror so I could see up close. And I'm just gonna press it onto the blemish so that I get the maximum coverage on that sucker. If you have redness around the nose, you can add a little more right here as well. And then again, with the bigger side, we're gonna just blend it out. In a light tapping motion, the more you tap, the more the product stays on those areas versus, again, swishing it and buffing it around. This feels like such a masterclass. Do you guys love it? I mean, the views say that you guys love these pro makeup tip videos. So if you guys love them, I'll keep on doing them because I think they're very informative. It almost is like a class. Like honestly, if you were debating going to makeup school, you might be able to just watch these pro makeup tip videos. I'm like, do I sound cocky? Okay, wait. And for the final touch, I of course take the Beauty Blender and press it all in. I also sometimes, if the kabuki brush isn't working, sometimes it doesn't give you the coverage that you want on a blemish. I'll take the very tip of the Beauty Blender, pick up the stick foundation, and start by pressing it directly onto the blemish and then going around, just like that. to build the coverage where needed. And there you go. Again, see the difference, how this just looks a little more skin-like and natural in comparison to the full coverage side. Nothing wrong with this side. If it works for you, it works for you. For me, it just ends up, again, creasing and not staying on my skin very well, whereas the less product I use and the more I build on coverage where needed and not the entire face, the longer my makeup tends to last on my skin and the more natural it looks. So those are my two techniques. I'm gonna, again, wipe this all off and do a full base for you guys before concluding this video, and then I'll be back to wrap it all up. I just want to give a quick shout out to Kogan Do and their pure cotton pads and cleansing spa water, because these two products made it so easy to remove my makeup and not get it all irritated like what normally happens with wipes or those cheap cotton rounds. I started off with these and then my eyes started getting irritated because they feel a little more scratchy on the skin, and then I remembered that I had these with the cleansing spa water. Just works magic on the skin, removes everything, doesn't leave a residue, and you can go right back into doing your makeup. So just wanted to give them a quick little shout out. Love the brand. Not sponsored. Now let me do my full base for you guys so you can see what it'll look like. I think I'm gonna use a stick foundation because I haven't used it in a while and I loved the finish. So I'm gonna pick up the foundation on the kabuki brush. I've already prepped my skin with that same Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream. I'm gonna buff this into the skin for a sheer finish. And then with my beauty blender, I'm gonna pick up some more product and cover up these stubborn pimples. They're like those really painful ingrown ones. And of course, I had to pick at them, so they're very inflamed and red on camera right now. I really gotta stop doing that before turning the camera on. But when I'm sitting here setting up lighting, I start to pick at my skin. It's such a bad habit, but we're gonna cover them up with this little YSL stick foundation. And then we're gonna add a little more coverage by going in with my concealer that I'm gonna highlight the skin with. I'm gonna use this Sephora high coverage concealer in the shade Peach Beige down the center of the face, starting with the under eyes. And I usually like to just add it underneath the eyes, and then as I blend it out, I'll drag it towards the rest of the center of the face. So this is gonna be my base to wrap up this video. When I come back, I'll have makeup on. I'm not sure what I wanna do for my makeup as of yet, but I am gonna film an empties video after this. So if you like the full look, I can definitely do a tutorial. I really wanted the focus to be on the skin today and building coverage with foundation. I didn't wanna go into colors, so if you guys do like the look in my empties video, or you'll probably see it in the intro and outro to this video, let me know and I will do the full tutorial for you guys. Alright, that is a wrap on today's video. I hope you guys learned something new. If you want these pro makeup tip videos to continue, just give this video a like, share your love, comment down below, lets me know that you guys are into it and I will continue making them. So as always, if you enjoyed this video, I already told you to give it a like, but give it a like again, share it, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys. Mwah.